What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping back into Outriders to finally take a look at the Pyromancer. And the Pyromancers are the flame-throwing mid-range brutes, able to throw waves of fire across the ground and ignite targets, but also immobilize enemies into ash, turn them into explosives, and stun entire large groups of targets in their tracks, making them vulnerable. So it is a pretty fun class, and we'll touch on some basics and builds for it in a moment, but first, thank you to Square Enix for sponsoring the video today and giving me the opportunity to share Outriders with you guys. If you want to check out more details, be sure to follow the link in the description box below. There's a demo version available, which we're playing right now for free, and can be downloaded ahead of the full launch on April 1st, 2021. And of course, Outriders will release on PC, Xbox One, Series X and S, as well as PlayStation 5 and PS4, and all of our progress from the demo will carry over to the full game. So that's awesome stuff, and the last character I've really had chance to check out in depth is the Pyromancer right here. It's taken me a moment to get the flow right with this character, and it's very much the mid-range powerhouse of the game with some good timing and setting up, as well as being able to put out some decent damage. There are a lot of ways in which Pyromancer is kind of a crowd control class. And we're going to talk more about the class setup in a moment, but I want to touch on a pretty important weapon perk that I've got for this build, which is especially good for keeping us in engagements, and it's called Shield Maiden. So I've got it rolled on this SMG, and shots that hit targets generate shield, but it's also a life leech weapon, which is a great pairing. And as you fire at targets, it actively generates shield back, which at the level we're playing at the moment means we have shields up most of the time, as long as we're actually hitting targets with that weapon. And then of course health works separately, and because shields are protecting us, life leech and the health bar in general are also regenerating most of the time. So this is a pretty awesome weapon because it's decent in mid-range, which is where Pyromancers are best. And as a survivability option, it counters the limitation of the heal mechanic, whereas Pyromancers, we recover health whenever enemies marked by our skills are killed. That in itself makes sense and synchronizes with the fact that we're using skills to kill, but in the situations where that isn't happening, Shield Maiden is pretty important. I'm also rocking an automatic shotgun, which has toxic bullets, so that's putting the toxic effect onto enemies for us. And I've gone with the shotgun because they do have a tendency to get a little bit too close sometimes. Of course, with us throwing fiery waves onto the ground, we need a bit more space than I sometimes tend to give to maximize the effectiveness of abilities, so the shotgun suits how I'm playing, but there are obviously a bunch of other solid options. Now looking at the Pyromancer skills, in this build I'm rocking Heat Wave. This summons a fiery wave that deals 42 damage and inflicts burn on enemies in its path. It's got quite a bit of range on it, maybe like 15 meters or something at a guess. And while it has kind of a narrow path, we can often catch a bunch of enemies who are grouped up, but it will also travel through enemies and obstacles and ignite others further in the distance. So it's pretty powerful and positioning is important, but it's a lot of fun for starting engagements and stopping enemy rushers. And I've got an additional mod on my gloves that inflicts weakness onto enemies affected by this skill. So for the enemies we ignite, it essentially nerfs their damage, which helps us and teammates. But we also have the Feed the Flame skill assigned to the class, and this targets an enemy and pulls them towards us, dealing 60 damage and inflicting ash. So it kind of pulls the target forward slightly, then they take damage and finally are immobilized for a moment, unable to shoot or use skills. So obviously it has strengths versus bosses and tanky targets. We can kind of hold them in place for a moment and put out some serious damage, but I've got a mod for this on my boots called Wide Grip, and it enables the absorption of an additional target when we use the skill, so we can now target 2 enemies at a time. Another good one for when we're being rushed or for mobs in general. And then we've got another mod on our upper armor where Feed the Flames replenishes 20% of our ammo in the weapon mag for every enemy affected by the skill, and since we can target 2 enemies with the skill at once, we instantly earn back 40% of our magazine capacity each time, which is really useful when we consider the Shield Maiden perk on the SMG, which is a huge component of our survivability. Feed the Flames is now in fact feeding that other ability as well, which is cool. And the final class skill we've assigned for now is Overheat, and this deals 9 damage and interrupts all enemies in a large radius. And then enemies affected with burn receive 107 damage instead, which consumes the burn, and so it basically stuns a bunch of enemies around us, and if we're being rushed, it stops enemies in their track for just a second. But of course, if we use Heat Wave first, Overheat can be used to blast them with a load of damage as well. Normally this would consume the burn effect, but our lower armor has a mod right here called Cinders, and this consumes the ash effect instead of burn, so it allows us to keep doing damage over time. But our helmet also has Ember Shield, and each status consumed by the skill increases our resistance by 10% for 10 seconds, and that also stacks up to 5 times, so we're getting an occasional benefit from it at the moment, but as these builds get more crazy, especially with purple and legendary gear, bonuses like this are going to be really strong. But the combination of the weapons, gear, and skills we have in the class for this build are really powerful. A lot of the time, I'm kicking off with Heatwave to get a set of targets burning, then using a combination of gunfire and also overheat when needed, as that does a load of damage to targets who are burning, which absolutely lets us shred through these guys, but also, again, it's pretty useful for keeping them at bay. As you can see in a lot of these clips, there's definitely a crowd control element here, and all the while, we're getting crazy shield and health benefits from the SMG, but when I run into trouble, or just want to inflict toxic onto targets for damage, the shotgun is also there as an option. To touch on the intrinsic perk once again, this is helping to keep us alive when we kill enemies affected by skills, so skills mark enemies for 15 seconds, then when we get a kill, we gain back 24% of our maximum health, as well as receiving an additional 10% anomaly power overall, so skill cooldowns here are pretty fast, and the melee also inflicts burn onto enemies in a small radius. And as always, there are a lot of other class skill tree nodes to unlock, as well as the additional 4 main class skills that we'll get in the full game. Thermal Bomb, which we haven't touched on much here, is also pretty powerful and we can target an enemy to burn them, but if they're killed while the skill is active, the enemy explodes, dealing 266 damage in a large radius. So that one's able to do some serious work as well, and can also be used to damage mobs of targets who are grouped up, so definitely worth checking out, and there are some powerful setups you can get with that. I'm super excited to see all of the other main skills after launch. Me and Jarvinis caught up while I was using this build, and he was rocking a Technomancer, so we're going to end the video with some gameplay of us combining those classes in co-op, as they are a lot of fun. But as always, if you like the look of Outriders, guys, then be sure to follow the link in the description box below, and thanks again to Square Enix for letting us share the game with you all. Let us know if you'll be jumping in at launch, but otherwise, enjoy the demo, and I'll catch you all very soon.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of them. Oh, okay, yeah, they're coming.
I'm just going to stun a couple right there, because they're getting a bit too friendly.
Stick to that.
Alright. The ice and the fire. Stun them for a sec. Oh, if I'd have stunned them like a second earlier, dude, they would have all been in within range of your missiles. Goes to show like how much sort of coordination there can be inside of that gameplay.
That's it. You can bait them in pretty well, which can be quite fun.
Yeah, definitely. And hey, we get to restock again. Look at that. Cheeky.
Oh, they're pushing. I need to change weapons here.
They're all coming, dude.
Put some poison on these.
Yeah, I'm gonna be hitting with the shotgun. I pulled the poison out as well.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. 50% of that damage will be hitting his buddy there.
I'm gonna get some shields back.
Beautiful. Oh, still on fire.
I know, right? I had to use that little puddle back there. I got mud on my coat, but at least I'm not on fire anymore.
Oh, we got some more here.
Alright.
I'm going to put this turret down here.
I try and sort of stun these, like, right before they get to us. It gives the turret just a bit longer to maybe get the freeze. We are melting, dude.
That's what you do when you set up shop. There's a chest around here, right?
This was the chest that gave me my first legendary. Not so lucky this time.
Oh, just a green this time.
Yeah, man, I do like how even like early on in the game, all of the gear is actually like useful and important. It doesn't feel like you're just equipping stuff to increase your like a basic number or something like that.
Yeah, and even for those items that maybe aren't your go-to, whether you sell them or dismantle them, there's important materials and currency there for you to either spend on new loot or to craft your own and improve the loot that you do use, the armor and weapons you are using, right? So
yeah, that's
it's an extra layer on top rather than ending up with an inventory with hundreds of thousands of materials that you're never going to use. You can put good use to pretty much anything.
Definitely. I'm really curious to see the crafting like portion of the game a bit more. It looks pretty like you can do a lot of meddling with perks and different pieces of gear, right?
Yeah, like we've seen some of these legendaries and they look absolutely wild, but the fact that you can make them even crazier than they are when they land on the ground is an exciting prospect.
How we're feeling about this, dude?
I'm going to throw down an ice turret because that seems to be my opening entry point.
Definitely. I'm just going to set him on fire a bit then. Why not? I'm going to try and save that stun. Oh, he resisted it. And pull him a little closer, maybe. Oh no, I wasted my attack. He moved. All about the timing and stuff, man.
This is it. It's not just about ability spam, right? You need to be able to time it properly.
Definitely. Got that ash on him for a second. And he's frozen. Kind of holding him in place there for a second.
Yeah, he's not happy. He's not a happy bunny right now. I can put another turret down, actually. 2.
Nice.
I'm pretty weak, but that gave me some health.
And your turret's still doing work.
The cooldown's really good on that.
He is fully frozen. There we go.
I think I can get my turret back before the one on the ground has run out, I think.
Nice. Is that with your armor perks and stuff that you have on?
A little bit. You can get the cooldowns. Put the other one down.
I think he's really in trouble now. Oh, there he goes.
He gone. Oh no, he teleported. Oh, it's...
Can we get him before he does the thing? Not quite. Okay, I am going to run for a second.
Oh, we got him.
Wow. I think your turret must have... Was that missiles or a turret?
That was a cryo turret.
Right.
That was a combination of cryo turret and that sniper. The sniper's like a battle rifle, so it doesn't actually have a scope. But it means you have a good view of the battlefield, and it feels really good to get those headshots. Seeing those heads pop is surprisingly a rewarding feeling, actually.
We can try finish this with a high five. I feel like we deserve it. We were pretty successful. we may have to get our timing right there. 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was pretty good.
That was pretty legit. Boom.